Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Wrap, brought to you by Michigan Medicine Headlines. I'm Dan Ellman with the Department of Communication.
And I'm Deanna Norris, also with the Department of Communication. Today, we're going to give you exclusive access to information about a new center that promises to improve patient access at Michigan Medicine.
Now, before we get into that, be sure you go back and access any episode of The Wrap you may have missed. You can find the shows on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast hosting platform. New episodes debut weekly and can also be found on the Michigan Medicine YouTube channel and as part of the Headlines Week in Review.
With that, let's bring in Dr. Vikas Parekh, Associate Chief Medical Officer for U of M Health and an executive sponsor of the M2C2 project, a new capacity hub designed to enhance the care delivered across the organization. Dr. Parekh, thank you for joining us.
Daniel, Deanna, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, first, can you explain what M2C2 is and how the idea of the center came about?
Sure, yeah. So M2C2 is an acronym for our Michigan Medicine Capacity Operations and Real-Time Engagement Center. So it's we kind of did a double acronym. So it's the Michigan Medicine Core Center, and then M2C2 came from that. We actually had a naming competition among our staff and project members who gave us hundreds of different names, and we ended up picking M2C2 as our ultimate name. In terms of what it really is in plain language, it's really borrows from what other industries have done in terms of what they call operations control centers. I think the best example most people will resonate with is NASA's control center when they have a launch or a big thing going on, right? So it's basically a place where you put together the right teams of people all together in one place with the right information in front of them, allowing them to, basically take the right action, right? Keep the space shuttle launch on track, or for us, really keeping all of our patients in the hospital on track, ensuring they get to the right bed, that any barriers they're encountering in their stay, we're aware of and can try to intervene where appropriate. So it's a relatively new concept in healthcare to create these kind of centers, but I would say over the past 10 years or so, many other peer institutions have implemented these centers, and we're excited to be doing it as well. We've been thinking about this for quite some time, but we're excited that we're finally able to get into the implementation stage.
This is such exciting work. Can you talk a little bit about your role, Vikas, in the development and preparing for the opening of M2C2?
Yeah, sure. So I am the executive lead for the work overall, and in my prior roles, I worked with our team to really help us come together around the need, the vision, and the plan for the center. We did a lot of groundwork before we even decided to do this, visiting other similar centers across the country, talking to other institutions, and really now I partner with my administrative partner, Maureen Thompson, who is my co-executive sponsor, to help oversee the overall project design. I'll say much of the initial work and design work and really kind of heavy lifting was done by our operations team, Max Garfulin, Jenny Pardo, and Nikki Farquhar, and then we were super lucky to recruit our new director for M2C2 about a year and a half ago, Jill Sklar, who's been really instrumental on the operational side of the project.
Yeah, you really have an amazing team that I've had the pleasure of meeting with and chatting with about the center. And one of the questions I asked them, and I'll ask you now because you can explain it a lot better than I can, but why is it so important that at Michigan Medicine we work to become more efficient at moving patients through the health system?
Yeah, it's a great question, Daniel. I think I always say there's two big reasons. So the first is really, I take the patient and family perspective, right? So what we're really trying to do is what is often called the triple aim, right? Right care in the right time in the right place. To the best of our abilities, we want to achieve that for all of our patients and families. And we know that we have challenges there, and anyone who works in our health system will tell you that. We also know that when we don't achieve that triple aim, it puts our patients and families at risk. Patients have higher likelihood of long waits, potentially poor outcomes, et cetera. And that's first and foremost why we need to do this. Now, the second side is the more what I sort of say the practical side, which is we're really busy and we have a lot of patients who want our care. And yet we're limited in our ability to continually expand our capacity. Now we're building the pavilion, and that will be here in a few years. But between now and then, and even after we open the pavilion, we anticipate that we'll continue to have really high demand for our care. And so to be able to serve as many patients as we can, we want to be more efficient with using our fixed capacity and resources that we're not able to continually expand. So those are the two real reasons that we want to do this. But first and foremost, it's that perspective of being a patient, and we're having a family member as a patient and saying, we want to try to do his best to get them through the system to the next level of care as quickly as we can, so that they get the right care that they need.
So planning for M2C2 has, I think, really probably been a collaborative process, right, with a lot of different care teams across the organization. Can you talk about who all was involved in the planning process for M2C2, and then who will be in the center once it opens?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, it's been a huge program. So we've been working at this for about 2 years since we've had the approval to sort of fund it and get it going. I think at this point, literally hundreds of individuals across the organization have been involved, from frontline staff all the way to senior leadership, depending on kind of the work that we're doing. We organize ourselves into multiple work teams, each focusing on a particular area of focus. For M2C2, for example, a team that was working on delays in care, trying to move people through their hospital stay more promptly. And that team, drew from, frontline nurses, care managers, support services like radiology and imaging, you name it. And then obviously project managers, folks from our quality teams, et cetera, to help us do the work together. So it's been a huge team effort. It's really been phenomenal to see the level of engagement and the number of people in the organization that have helped us design M2C2 and the work that we will do. In terms of who will be in the center day to day, at the core are kind of 4 teams that will exist under the umbrella of capacity management. What I call kind of our admissions and bed team, a team that helps kind of do intake and assign beds for a portion of our patients. Our patient flow coordinator team, who are generally more a clinical background, they're kind of managing the more complicated bed placements, getting the patients into the right place. Our transfer center team, who takes all the calls for patients who want to come here from other institutions. And then lastly, a new team that we're adding, our clinical expediter team. They're a team of, again, clinically trained individuals who are working on a lot of those areas around care progression, delays in care, trying to improve length of stay. In addition to those sort of core teams that all sit under the capacity management umbrella, there's a lot of other teams that will spend some time of their day in the center. Someone from our care management team, individuals from our environmental services and transport teams, our rapid response teams who we're partnering with around some work in quality and safety, our sepsis coordinators, just to name a few. There'll be the center is definitely open for people to come in if they have questions, issues as well. And we have a lot of collaborative space built into design. So I imagine there'll be plenty of other people who will be dropping in day to day.
Yeah. So on top of the people who'll be dropping in and collaborating, directly with members of the M2C2 team, what should faculty and staff across the organization sort of expect to change, once M2C2 is fully up and running? How will it sort of affect their daily life?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll say first, we designed most of our work to be relatively seamless. So, we didn't want to add burden to our already busy team, right? So we tried to be really thoughtful about how we built the analytics and data, not requiring anyone to put new information into MyChart, for example, but leveraging all the information that's already there in a smarter way. Much of the work will happen behind the scenes, and people won't necessarily notice the work, but they'll hopefully notice the outcomes, right? That we'll be able to kind of get patients into beds earlier in the day by opening up those beds, expediting their discharges. It'll take less time to get to a bed once we know that you're going there. hopefully we'll better use our available capacity so that every last bed is better used and filled when we have patients who demand our care. And then lastly, I think hopefully our proactive approach will get ahead of some of the barriers that patients experience, which often end up being challenges for our frontline staff trying to solve those problems. And so hopefully, we see the MRI delay, for an example, coming up. We'll get in front of that and try to prioritize that patient so the frontline team doesn't have to, right? So ultimately, I think those are the outcomes you'll see, but hopefully not a lot of burden or incremental work, hopefully actually removing some of that burden from our team.
That sounds great. So what are the plans for the center over the next month or so? When is it scheduled to open, and when will it reach its full potential?
Yeah, we're kind of gearing up here for our actual opening, which is November 29th, which is when staff will be in place in the center and will kind of be fully operational. So the next few weeks are a lot of just kind of getting the last pieces together. The space is kind of getting fully furnished, all the IT is in place, and then we are having a series of kind of welcoming events for many of the team members who help us build the center, as well as an open house type event in the middle of November. In terms of, how long will it take to kind of ramp up and reach full potential? The first few months I think are really going to be just kind of getting the kinks out and figuring out what works, doesn't work, getting everyone comfortable in the space and in the workflows. And then most centers say that really it's a month to kind of a year-long journey to kind of full potential as you PDCA the process, get everyone going. A lot of learning happens, and you understand kind of what the barriers are that you might not have imagined patients experiencing, and then you kind of have to adapt and adjust your work to pivot to those areas.
Yeah, I love that. I think you read my mind, because my next question was going to be about how will your team sort of, looking to the future, make continuous improvement, right? And I think PDCA has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
But sort of, once everything is in place, maybe even looking years down the line, what do you expect you'll find, once M2C2 is up and running? What do you expect you'll find to see as the outcomes of the work you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a, I think we know from what we've heard from others that, the evolution and sort of development of the center is kind of a continual process. A lot of what we have built, I kind of think of like diagnostics, kind of like all the gauges and lights in your car, right? We're going to find a lot of things that are going to, light up and tell us, oh, wow, we didn't really even realize we had a bottleneck here, or this was a challenge for the organization, because right now all that happens kind of at a patient level, but it's not easy to kind of see it at the aggregation of the whole health system. And then that will drive future enhancements and changes, right? And we built this into our structure. We have project support and project management support. We're building a series of performance indicators that we hope to improve and drive so we can understand if we're making a difference. And then all of that will embed into kind of a operational structure from a frontline performance improvement team all the way to kind of a governance committee that will be leaders in all the different areas that can impact the ultimate outcome. And so that's the system that will drive what we will do in the future. What will happen in the future? I think really what we want to do is see us continually enhance the patient experience in terms of patient flow, right? So ideally we will move people through the system quickly to their next level of care. Patients will have fewer barriers, which will ultimately hopefully reduce length of stay, allow us to serve more patients. And then, I don't think I mentioned it, but we also are partnering with our quality and safety teams in a couple of areas. We're a rapid response team around trying to anticipate patients that might be at risk for clinical decline and getting in front of that, and as well as supporting some of the work of our sepsis teams who are trying to improve our sepsis care. And I think there's a lot more opportunity in that area as well, quality and safety, where we're just starting with small pieces of that work. But in my conversations with many of our team members, as well as our new Chief Quality Officer, Dr. Watts, I think there's a lot of other opportunities in that space that I look forward to us developing in the years to come.
So is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you're excited about with M2C2 coming to fruition?
We've talked a lot about it a lot, but I'm super excited about the potential to improve the care of our patients and the experience for our caregivers. I really think that M2C2 will become a hub for kind of innovation in this space and in how we operate as a health system, how we think about how we solve quality and safety problems in the health system. And I'm really looking forward to the launch, go live, and then kind of seeing how we use M2C2 as a tool to kind of drive innovation in the future. And I think there's going to be some really great things that will come out of this.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for sharing your insight, Vikas. If our listeners want to learn more about M2C2, they can go to mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
Okay, Vikas, we need you to stick around just a little bit longer. It's time for the lightning round when we ask our guests 4 quick questions they have not seen before this interview. Are you ready to go?
I think I'm ready as I will be.
All right, so you've done a lot of work helping the organization plan for and execute plans to treat patients with COVID-19 over the past couple of years. What was the most challenging part of that role and the most satisfying part of that role?
The hardest part, I think, was facing uncertainty, right? And I think not knowing what we didn't know, and really maybe not even knowing what we thought we knew, right? So continually kind of learning more information, pivoting our thinking in a really challenging time for our team and caregivers, a lot of fear, apprehension, et cetera. And so managing through that and trying to really inform the organization the best we could, being humble. It's like 1 week this is what we thought was happening, the next week it's like, well, things look a lot different now, and this is where we are. That's okay. It's okay. We kind of operated in the mode of we are all going at this with our best intentions, with the best information that we have at the time, and we're gonna kind of continually learn and redirect as we had more information. So that was tough. And at times during COVID, I was also a frontline caregiver as a physician on the hospital medicine teams, guiding our trying to supervise and guide our teams, our learners, our residents, supporting our staff, which was also obviously challenging at times.
It really was amazing to watch everyone come together and pivot quickly when needed. Just really astounding. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you like to do at the end of the day when you go home? What's your favorite way to unwind and relax?
Yeah, it's sure. I like many people, I have a family, two kids who are busy, middle schooler and a high schooler. So often just getting home, getting together at dinner, and just chatting about our days is important to us before they go off and do their homework and other activities. My wife is also a clinician here, a pediatric cardiologist at Mott, and so we appreciate that family time. Outside of that, when it's good weather outside, I like getting outside and exploring the outdoors, doing things, and it's been a wonderful year for that. Still is, even into November, which I'm super happy about. And then, I'm a reader at heart. I'm not much of a movie or TV person as much as a reader, but so I enjoy reading and both fiction and nonfiction books to kind of unwind when I have time.
Awesome. All right. Well, Michigan men's and women's basketball teams tipped off this week. Are you into sports? And if so, which sport would you say is your favorite?
Yeah, I follow Michigan sports, not as intensely as many people. It's hard to say what basketball I enjoy, and I've actually the games I've been to, I've really enjoyed women's basketball. As my 2 boys, just really enjoy kind of the environment and spirit there. So that's been fun. And my father-in-law used to have ice hockey season tickets. We used to do that a lot too. Haven't done that as much lately, but those are always fun too.
All right. And finally, of course, we've seen the seasons change from summer to fall, and with some possible snowflakes in the forecast for this weekend soon, it will go from fall to winter. Which season is your favorite, and what's your favorite thing to do during that season?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm a summer person. I really love
You picked the wrong state to live in.
Yeah, which are beautiful and underappreciated, and I'm glad for that. In the summer, like I said, I'm an outdoor person. I like to get out and hike, bike. We're super lucky to have a place on Lake Michigan as a family home where we spend a lot of time in the summers enjoying the shores of Lake Michigan as well.
Outstanding. Well, thanks again, Vikas, for participating in the lightning round and for sharing all of your knowledge about M2C2. Once again, if you want to learn more about the soon-to-debut Capacity Management Hub at Michigan Medicine, go to mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
And while you're there, check out some of the other featured stories from this past week. There was a kickoff of a new inclusive communication series that will help you better talk and write about disability. And readers learned about how a post-mortality survey is improving safety and care at Michigan Medicine. Find that and more at mmheadlines.org.
All right, Deanna. Now, I looked this up. I didn't know this off the top of my head, but this week is National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week. So I'm going to know, do you have any pets? And if so, were they any rescues from a shelter?
I love that, Dan. I didn't know that either. So I have great appreciation for animal rescues. We have 2 dogs. We have a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old, and both of them are from shelters. In fact, the mother of our older dog was rescued from a shelter in another state and brought to Michigan while she was carrying the litter that our dog was a part of. So they're both really sweet, loving dogs. Just make our family complete. How about you?
Yeah, that's great. So I have a little white ball of fluff, a 12-year-old Bichon named Brady, and he was a rescue from a shelter in Illinois back when I lived in Illinois. We've had him probably nine years or so now, and he's, as you said, he makes the family complete. So he just puts a smile on your face a lot because he's just sort of ridiculous. And if you need to unwind from the day, you go and look whatever he's doing because it's probably insane. But we love the little guy. So yeah, so animal rescues are great, and I encourage anyone, to go find one in your area if you're looking for an addition to your family.
Absolutely. Okay, it's time for the weekly trivia contest. This week's question is, last week, Headlines readers were told the name of the HRO Tool of the Month. What is that tool? Once again, what is the HRO Tool of the Month for November? Once you know the answer, send it to headlines@med.umich.edu for your chance to win a prize.
All right, that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks, Vikas, for joining us, and thanks, as always, to all of our listeners and viewers for everything you do for patients, families, and each other. We'll see you next week.